I'm so happy that my neck actually is much better.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. It's good to see you. If you are working on something else, you can continue to do so. Just try and kind of keep the volume down a little bit. Welcome to Lecture 18. If you look at where we are right now in the schedule, we only have about a week and a half remaining, okay? Your showcase is coming up fast, and your projects, we looked at them on Tuesday. Your projects are looking really fantastic. Scott and I looked. Hopefully you saw the feedback video, but the work you're doing is awesome. I think you're doing a great job. You're keeping a good pace, and yeah, I'm proud of you. Good work. So we have just a week and a half remaining, which means you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. Try not to make any massive changes. And in general, focus on quality over quantity, okay? If you need to do something to reduce your scope, if you need to cut a feature you're thinking about, then do it, okay? Do it, have no regrets, and go in and make what you've got as high quality as you can, okay? Hopefully the play tests you're doing on Monday have been useful. It looks like in your devlogs they were for some of your teams. But yeah, we only have about this lecture and the next lecture. That's pretty much it. I think we probably will have a final lecture on Monday before the showcase. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. We might actually wrap it up next week, Wednesday. But keep a note, the EECS 494 showcase is on the 21st. I'll probably add it to the schedule. It is a nice chunk of extra credit. If you want to check out those games and learn from those students, you can do so at that event. Might be useful. I have a company for you, and this company is kind of timely. When you go to their website today, you will find this right here. Not a whole lot, okay? The website appears to have been taken down. They appear to have become defunct, okay? Their company was called Avigent, and fortunately, we do have a archive.org, a Wayback Machine entry of what their website used to look like. This is one of those really interesting companies that doesn't really make a product. They design a technology and then they patent that technology. Now you got to be a little bit careful. Maybe the archive.org is struggling a little bit. You got to be a little bit careful because some companies with this business model turn into what is known as patent trolls. Have you ever heard that term before, a patent troll? What does a patent troll do? What is their thing? Kane?
Yeah, so a patent troll, patents an idea or some sort of vague concept, and then when anyone even comes close to infringing upon said concept or idea, they're just like, no, we have the patent for this. We have the patent for a game where you have an orb that you use to summon a monster.
Yes, and you're referring right now to Nintendo's patent on Pokemon battling, I believe, which was recently invalidated by the patent office, thank goodness. The patent system in the USA, and I think patents generally, they were originally conceived to protect small companies that might invest in interesting new ideas and technologies, but then wouldn't have the speed or the resources to then commercialize those technologies. What happened was a small company or an individual or a small team would come up with something really great and new, and then a big company would see that idea and use their resources to just clobber them, take the idea, and then run the small company out of business. The patent system is basically a government-sanctioned monopoly on some sort of technology or idea that lasts for, I think, like 15 years, but it kind of varies. For medical firms in particular, for pharmacy companies, for drug-making companies, this is extremely important because the actual chemical formulas to make important, valuable drugs aren't always hard to manufacture. Once it's known and proven that that formula works, any company can start manufacturing. But in order to recoup those initial research costs, the company needs that patent system to help them monetize the drug for that first, 10 or so years, 15 years. so they can recoup their investment. Otherwise, the pharmacy research system could be at risk of falling apart. But in other places, you find that the patent system is abused in order to basically prevent certain technologies from being made. Or a company just kind of farms a bunch of ideas, tries to get as many patents as they can, and then go out and find companies that are trying to make similar things, and then basically threaten them and say, hey, you got to pay us this much, or we're going to take you to court, and we're going to then extract a bunch of money from you. So that is the typical behavior of a patent troll. The key is the company has a lot of patents. They never make anything. They just kind of sit around waiting for someone to try and make it and then attack them. And that's kind of, that's not such a great thing. So at Electronic Arts, I went to a really great talk by the legal team at EA. And they had a really interesting insight. So Google wanted to enter the mobile phone space not that long ago. But Google didn't have any mobile patents, okay? So you know who had the patents of the era, right? Companies like Motorola, companies like Apple, companies that had been in the space for a long time had a lot of patents, and thus it was very hard to make a new phone without stepping on some patent that one of your rivals could then use to prevent you from entering the space. So do you know what Google did? What did they do?
They had other companies make the phones for them.
Well, they do that still, yes. But in 2012, Google purchased Motorola for $12 billion, sorry. And a few months later, do you know what Google did? They sold Motorola just a few months later for about $3 billion, if I recall. So you buy it for $12 billion, you sell it back for $3 billion. That doesn't sound like a good deal, does it? But Google kept something. I don't think they kept the engineering teams. I don't think they kept the design teams, but they did keep something. What did they keep from Motorola?
They extracted the patents.
Exactly. So Google purchased Motorola in order to get their suite of patents, and that was their ticket through the gate, okay? That was their rationale. That was their ability to go make a phone. And of course, they then went and started making Android, right? So sometimes at EA, it was referred to us as mutually assured patent destruction. Many companies will create patents and try and buy companies that have patents, not really to enforce them, but to make sure they won't be enforced against. And so this whole system is very frustrating to me, and I think that it has long since abandoned its initial purpose, at least outside of medicine. But I'm not a scholar and expert on that particular topic, but it is an interesting topic at the very least. I hope you think so. In any case, why does this come up? Well, Avigent was a company that designed basically light engines for augmented reality technology. This is kind of the optical light-based augmented reality technology, not the kind that you see on the headsets. I'm going to show you this video. Thankfully, the video is still up, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at what they designed. I'm not saying, by the way, that Avigent is a patent troll company. I don't think they've enforced at all, and it seems they only have a small number of patents. And I think that they were actually eventually bought. So let's take a look.
Mixed reality is going to change the way that we fundamentally interact with all our information and devices today.
It's going to change the way we learn. It's going to allow us to not have to travel because we can be interacting with digital others and feel like they're there.
Most of the experiences that we want to have in mixed reality happen up close. I want to be able to hold something in my hand, bring it up close to see all of that amazing detail, But the problem is, mixed reality devices today have a very difficult time displaying virtual images up close.
If you're using current systems, they only have one focal point. The optics just don't feel very natural, and you can't get things close to your face.
This is a fundamental limit to current displays that's holding back the entire mixed reality industry, and we have a solution today. Avegant's light field technologies. When I look at a virtual object sitting in my hand, if the focus of an object doesn't match the focus of my hand, it doesn't feel like it's there. It feels like it's out there somewhere. And not only does it affect how real it looks, that starts getting confusing to your eyes and to your brain.
If mixed reality is going to succeed, we have to have technologies that let the eyes be comfortable. It's got to feel natural.
What makes light field feel so real is it actually displays images at multiple focal points simultaneously. We really are recreating the way you naturally see. But eyes can naturally focus between multiple objects just like they do in real life. It feels like a magical experience. It's as if you're really there.
The optics from Avegant let me see images in a more natural way. They feel more real. They let me get closer to the images.
The success of the entire mixed reality industry hinges upon having light field technologies. Think about all the interactions that you want to have with virtual objects, creating something by hand, interacting with a character. None of this is possible without light field displays.
We are excited to be working with Avegant because we are driving fundamental technological innovations to transform the vision of AR, VR, MR into a reality.
We've proven that our core display technology is manufacturable. We're using that expertise to develop a mixed reality experience that feels natural.
A few weeks ago, I came to Avegant and was able to see this firsthand. And it was incredible. Their technology brings the ability to unlock tremendous value with unique applications in multiple industries. Mixed reality glasses are about to get really affordable and they're about to get really lightweight. So we're going to wear them all the time. We're going to compute with them. We're going to have screens around us all the time. So I don't want to ever take these things off.
Light field is the missing link to truly realistic and interactive mixed reality experiences.
Okay, right. So one of the reasons I'm not convinced this is a patent troll company is that they do have actual prototypes that they have manufactured to kind of show off some of the tech. However, it is fairly clear, I think, that the company is looking for investment or a acqui-hire or some sort of purchase for that technology and those patents. If I recall, on the Alive version of the website, they have a pretty big section, maybe not in this version, maybe they changed it, but they had a section that was basically all about their patents, right? The fact that they have patents and that they have patents pending that are going through the system is a big deal. And if you look at that video from the lens of an investment person or a person at Google who might want to, acquire some more AR patents for some of their upcoming work, then everything kind of starts to make sense, okay? There are companies out there that just do this. They are looking to create patents, create prototypes, and then get acquired by some larger company that is going to kind of give them their break, right? Give them their big payout. Okay, so kind of cool stuff in any case. And if augmented reality glasses start to take off, if the Ray-Bans from Meta continue to do well and grow, then maybe this kind of thing would really be valuable to some company out there who wants to get into it in the future. Okay. So pretty cool company. Crunchbase thinks they've gotten $62 million worth of funding. That's quite a lot, but doesn't go super far in lots of places in California. They're in Belmont, California. Okay, some announcements. So a reminder, the Get a Job Guide is here for you, and I've talked about it a few times, but don't rest, don't ignore those academic opportunities, okay? We've had some fantastic laboratories looking for fantastic talent. They love to take the students out of 440, 494, and all the courses. And so give them a shot. In particular, if you don't have something quite yet for this summer, or if you're very interested in grad school, you can get a letter from me. A lot of students ask me for letters. You can get a letter from a research professor if you end up working with a research professor. And then for most graduate programs, you only need one more letter, okay? Keep that in mind. My first ever internship was with an anesthesiology research group here on campus. And so that was a really fantastic experience. I learned a lot, and it really set me up for great opportunities in the future. So definitely think about that kind of stuff. All right, so there is I think a really interesting episode from Folding Ideas on the topic of the metaverse and why the metaverse has kind of struggled and what the metaverse kind of became for. I won't really comment on the entire video, but I want you to know it exists. The video is one of the more pessimistic ones. It says the future is a dead mall, Decentraland and the metaverse. I think it's about, how long is it? Let's take a look. I think this is almost 2 hours. So a very big video essay / documentary on the metaverse and how it's kind of progressed. I found it to be very thoughtful, if a bit pessimistic. And so give it a look if you want to. Okay. A reminder, in the visualization studio, we want to keep it in very good shape. We really want the cables and the headsets to be kind of positioned up on top of the table like this at the end of the day when you're done using it. If you have a cable that's kind of leaning over the side, or you've got a cable on the ground like this, what happens is that people can accidentally roll over the cable in their chair, and that can damage the cable. So try and make sure that your headset gets up when you are done working with the headset, and get that cable kind of wrapped around the headset itself like this, and should be good. All right. So today I want to talk about 2 different topics, both of them very interesting. We've been talking a lot about different XR firms and startups and businesses, and we've been talking a lot about criteria such as financial sustainability, the idea that you want to make sure your studio, your team, is able to keep the lights on while you complete development or continue to support the product after that. Sometimes that means, finding a way to sell the product or monetize the product. Sometimes that means finding organizations and institutions that will support the product long term with things like grants and stuff like that. For your own projects, you don't need to sell your products to a customer, but you do need to find some institution or some grant out there that you can conceivably get support from to keep the lights on. But making money is not always the reason that we make things. There are a lot of reasons to make things. Maybe you just want to make it. Maybe you are wanting to express some idea or some thoughts to the world. Maybe you want to make some art, and you're going to use extended reality or game dev as your medium to do exactly that. So today I want to talk about the topic of extended reality as art. And if we have some time, I want to talk about playtesting as well, because you're doing plenty of that. It's a very, very important topic. But actually, I think we'll probably not get through all of this playtesting stuff before our final lecture next Wednesday. A quick note, on the schedule you can see this. Culture 5 is now open. It is visible. The Culture 5 assignment, which we will be watching a film about on, Monday. You will do a playtest on Monday, and then we'll watch a film later that night on Monday. There'll be no lecture, though, to give you time for the playtesting. Culture 5 is the film Free Guy, okay? It is kind of a return to that big-budget Hollywood style of film, after watching San Junipero. And it is a very timely film, I think. It is a film that kind of combines the ideas of virtual worlds, right, living in a metaverse, okay? Zuckerberg's metaverse didn't work out so well this time. In the future, maybe Ready Player One is more of a thing. Neural links might get working. Maybe the equipment, the hardware gets much better. And so we're going to get a look at the possible future of both metaverses and virtual worlds combined with the very timely topic of AI. Okay, this is a film in which the AI becomes so good that it's actually hard to understand, like, whether he's real or not. And then there's that question again, well, What makes a virtual world real? And then there's the question of what makes a being real. Are the LLMs we talk with real? If you say hello, they will say hi back. If you ask them a difficult question, they'll respond as kindly as they can. There are stories and headlines in the news of these LLMs sometimes asking not to be turned off, right? Things are getting a little bit spooky with some of this AI technology. And so what would happen if the AI became so realistic that you started to look at them as a friend? What if they begged you not to close the tab because that would be killing them? What if, right? Well, difficult questions, but this movie is going to explore some of those at least a little bit. I think it's a funny film, it's a comedic film, it's a Ryan Reynolds film, but it's a very interesting film in that the film's comedy starts off a little bit, I think a little bit cringe, a little bit try hard. It doesn't work quite right. And then as the film goes on, it becomes much more earnest, and suddenly everything starts to click. It's a really interesting film from a filmmaking perspective and a writing perspective. So I hope you'll enjoy that part of it too. As creatives, as game developers, as XR developers, I think you'll enjoy that part of it. Okay, so we'll be watching that together on Monday, and that'll be our last film. And then the week later, 7 days later, you'll be out of here, okay? You'll do the showcase. At our next lecture, we're going to talk showcase logistics. I'll help you understand what's going on with the showcase. On Monday, we'll launch your trailer marketing assignment, and you'll get a chance to create your trailers in that final week too. We don't expect a whole lot of changes to your product and your technology in that final week. And so hopefully that'll give you some time to just polish up and then capture some footage, make your trailer, fix up your website, and then we'll be out of here, okay? Whew, summer is not far away, and I cannot wait. I'm headed to Japan for the second time, and I'm going to try and spend a month there this time because last time was too short. Sometimes I wish I could take a sabbatical and just go there for a year. So teaching faculty like me don't really get a sabbatical. Sabbatical is, as far as I understand it, mainly meant to support research. You go to another institution, you go to another country, and that helps with your research efforts when you come back. But I really wish I could take a sabbatical for just a year and just grind the language because it's such a nice language and such a cool country. All right. Anyway, does anyone have any questions on any of this? Anything I've said today? Okay. So what I want to do is I've got actually a very difficult question for you. Okay? When it comes to extended reality as art, the big question is, well, what is art? And if we can't figure out what art is, maybe we can figure out what it feels like or what it means. What is art? And I'm not looking for a precise, perfect definition. The first thing that comes to your head, like emotionally, what does it feel like for something to be art? Yeah.
I think art should be something that elicits like some sort of emotion from you.
Okay, some sort of emotion, right? Art inspires emotion in the people who view it and maybe in the people who create it, right? What about a film? What if I create a film where you sit in a room for 2 hours straight and nothing happens? Is that art? Would that evoke an emotion? Oh yeah, I think it would. Boredom, right? Is it art in some ways that feels very artsy? Yes, Keaton? What do you think?
That was pretty much exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, well, what do you think art is? What other facets of art, are out there?
I would say it's like some sort of like object with something to say. And
Okay.
Finding object extremely loosely.
Something to say. Okay, it has something to say. Well, what if I say, I want to make a game that is just a Call of Duty sequel? It's got really not a whole lot new it's doing. What am I saying?
You like Call of Duty?
I like Call of Duty, right? Maybe I do, right? Maybe I'm saying I want some money. Okay, I'm making that super successful Call of Duty sequel, okay? Maybe I'm saying I didn't have much time, okay? It's interesting to think about what art is. It's one of those things, it's like asking what a game is. You try and pin it down, and it's just a little bit elusive, but you kind of know it when you see it. And there's also the question of, well, can anything be art? And that's a really interesting question. It's a very difficult thing to disprove. But when it comes to XR and art, one of the first things you might think about is, well, art production, right? Drawing, cool visuals, things, for instance, like the awesome tilt brush application. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever seen this tilt brush? Let's watch the trailer. Right, so just very literally, we are going to build some software in XR that helps you create art. As you look at these screenshots, these videos, these images, one of the really powerful things about doing 3D modeling in VR is that you have this tremendously better sensation of 3D space. If you think about it, one of the things that makes a tool like Blender or Maya or ZBrush difficult is that you are trying to construct a 3D object or character or world, but the interface that you have, actually, it's only 2D. Understand, you might see an object that looks 3D, but you're seeing that 3D object and experiencing it through a 2D interface. There's a missing axis. And in a program like Blender, when you click, imagine everyone that I'm in Blender and I click right here. The software doesn't know what point in 3D space you wanted. They know one axis into that scene. As a result, one of the things that makes 3D modeling programs and animation programs so difficult is that they have to really try very hard to figure out what you meant. There's an entire axis missing. Well, in something like VR tilt brush, you can literally just kind of move your hand back and forth and see and perceive that depth. You can also just kind of move your head back and forth. You can look around things. You can quickly look at it from any perspective. Your communication with the software is much more direct. The problem is, at least right now, it's also less precise, because a keyboard and mouse is a much more precise interface than the game controllers, motion controllers that you have. Try entering some numbers with the motion controller. You can easily do that on a keyboard. It's much harder and more sluggish on a motion controller. And so you get a really big boost to art production in certain ways. You can very quickly create rough things that are beautiful, but creating precise things is quite hard in VR. So it's a give and take. So sometimes, though, when you think about art, you're not really thinking about creating beautiful sculptures. You're not creating beautiful sprites or visuals for a game or a film. Sometimes you're trying to get some sort of idea or argument out there, or some feeling even. You're just trying to put some part of yourself kind of out there into the world and see how people react to it. Okay? Sometimes you've got something to say. And when a lot of people think about art, this is what a lot of people think about. I think, did I tell you about this game before your eyes before? This is a really cool game. It was made, I think, at USC by a student team. And the team decided to introduce some really cool technology, some XR technology, where you could look around and move around in VR, but they would actually track your eyes. They would track your eyes, and in particular, they would track the closing state. They would track whenever you blinked. And so, in this game, blinking is a game mechanic, a very important one, because every time you blink, time advances. And if you want to stay in a certain moment or delay something from happening, you have to keep your eyes open physically. Like your biology, you have to try and control it. This is extremely interesting because the eyes come with a built-in timer, don't they? What happens if you keep your eyes open too long without blinking?
Dry out.
Your eyes start to dry out. It starts to get uncomfortable. So this game says, if you want to stay in this moment, you need to keep your eyes open. And the longer you do that, the more it will actually hurt you. Crazy. Incredible, right? And think of the story things, the narrative things you could do with that. Well, you're going to get a feel for that in this trailer. Kind of a very emotional game. And what they do with these game mechanics, right? What they do to try and keep you from wanting to blink is really, really, really interesting. Let's take a look at the trailer. This is before your eyes. Basically, you have perished, you've gone to heaven, or at least you're being ferried over the river, and you are now seeing and going through your life one last time. That's the premise of this game. Let's take a look.
Just think back to the very beginning. First thing that you can remember. I'm going to send you there. Every time you blink, you're going to jump forward in time. It could be a second, it could be 5 years.
It's Chloe. Your name?
But understand, no matter how much you like it, you're not going to be able to stay.
Ready, come up here.
That's just how this thing works. So if you understand what I'm saying, blink over my hand here. You remember blinking, don't you? that thing you did 30,000 times a day.
So, this is an experience that normally you cannot have outside of XR. And it's an experience that isn't just trying to entertain you. Okay, this game definitely has something to say. The creators, the authors definitely have something they want you to feel. And they're going to use the interesting technology that XR provides to create an experience that you really can't have anywhere else, except maybe in real life, okay? And I'm not saying that's going to be a pleasant experience, but it's one that a lot of people didn't forget. Look at these positive reviews. My goodness, they knocked it out of the park, okay? Give it a shot if you get a chance. Experts have weighed in on the question of our game's art. One of those is this fella right here. Do you know who this is? Very famous face. Rest in peace. It is the famous film critic Roger Ebert. You've probably heard that name correctly, right? So, Roger Ebert is mainly focused on film, but he did chime in on the topic of games. And in particular, he thought that video games can never be art. And if I recall, and I might be messing this up, but one of his central arguments is that having a player involved kind of takes away the ability of the author to kind of shape that experience and shape what they want to say. I think it's very silly personally, but an argument was made that games and XR, by extension, are not art and can't really be art. And there's been a lot of interesting debate on that topic, but it's one of those things where you have to ask, what is art exactly? Before we can ask if games or XR can be art, what is it? And this opinion is not necessarily a very rare one. Do you know who this is? Another very famous face. If you are a gamer, if you've been one for a long time, you've played this person's work, and you owe this fella a great deal. This is who?
Satoru Iwata.
Satoru Iwata, who is famous for being
President of Nintendo.
exactly one of the big programmers on Pokemon Red and Blue, one of the programmers on Super Smash Bros. Melee. Satoru Iwata wasn't just Nintendo's president. He was one of those in the trenches presidents who did a lot of work with his teams, was beloved internally by his teams. And when he could, because he was an excellent engineer, when he could, he would pitch in to help get the games over the finish line. At a GDC conference, he opened up by talking about what games mean to him. And it's not going to surprise you to hear what he had to say. It's a very Nintendo philosophy. He said that video games are meant to be just one thing. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be fun for everyone. And I think that's a really, it's something that, no surprise, that is Nintendo's vibe, okay? That's definitely Nintendo's vibe. But video games are sometimes a lot of things, okay? Very often they're fun, and they're often meant to be fun, but do they have to be fun? That's what I wonder. Do they have to be fun? Could you make a video game for other reasons? And so what I want to do is I want to play a very famous game, okay? This is not a big game, but if you're a game designer, there's a chance you've heard of Jason Rohrer and his game Passage. And this is a game that every year that goes by, I feel differently about it. And, if there's anything that would make something art, maybe that's one of those things. So, would anyone like to come play Passage? This is a game in which all you have to do is use the arrow keys. That's it. Nothing more. About 5 minutes long. Would anyone like to play Passage? All right, come on up. I always really respect the students who, knowing I tend to troll people when they come up with the games I choose, still choose to play the game. So respect. This one is not going to be painful. You're A-okay. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to 440. Let's go to Games as Art. We're going to play Passage. Here we go. It usually takes me a few moments to get the game kind of running and get it looking okay, but we'll have you come over here, and you can sit down if you want to. Oh, there we go. So, can we see it up there? There we go. Rock and roll. Good luck. Have fun. You can go down if you want.
Oh, you can go down.
Okay,
Rip.
thank you. And that is passage. So, Kane, I want to ask, on your level of fun, 0 to 10, 10 maximum fun, what's the review? What's the ranking?
Like 2?
2? So you didn't have a great time?
I had a good time.
You had a good time? Oh, so you mean 2 is in like good, as in like 1 is the best?
No. 2 is in like, I don't think it was a fun experience, but I do think it was
Interesting. Okay.
an experience.
Okay, so you had a good time, but it wasn't necessarily a fun time. Interesting. Good. So this game is a very, very interesting game. When you play it, you discover it doesn't have very many mechanics. It doesn't have a whole lot going on at first glance. Visually, it's very simple, but you start to notice something if you pay careful attention to the game. You get points as you move to the right, and you get 2 points if you have a partner, a friend with you. But you can go around and not do that. At which point you will continue to get less value out of the progress you make. But in exchange, you can go down deeper, where there's more treasure and passages that would restrict you. You wouldn't fit through them with a friend. You can now get through them much easier, down where a lot more treasure is. Sometimes, as you just saw, the treasure isn't treasure at all. It just kind of looks like it, and then it turns into flies, right? You get nothing. And then sometimes you get, oh, there's more fly-based treasure. Let's try this one, okay? And let's open up, and more flies. Okay, it hasn't been very worth it to me yet. At the beginning of the game, there we go, and get a big bundle of points. At the beginning of the game, it is the future, the distant right side, that is blurry and unclear. But at the end of the game, it is in fact where you came from that's now visually unclear and hard to perceive. If you want to delve deep and explore treasure, it's going to be a bit harder, but there are lots of rewards down here. Or you can stay at the very top and just hold right. You'll encounter no obstacles, and you'll get some points by making consistent progress over that way. As the time goes on, your character very obviously changes and becomes older and older. What you might not know is that that final state where you are hunched over and barely moving never occurs if you never lose your friend. And so there are things in this game. They were put there. It seems they were put there on purpose. But a lot of this was clearly not meant to be fun. Deciding why it was put there is part of the puzzle. And a lot of people play this game and they don't come away having had a great fun time, but they definitely come away thinking about it. Okay? And so that, I think, is one of the reasons people think about Passage so much, and they are so interested in it, and why it keeps coming around, and why in game design and some XR circles, people know about this game, okay? It's a game that wasn't made to sell copies. It wasn't made to be fun. It's quite boring. It can be a bit frustrating. But it certainly seems like it has some things to say under the hood. I'm going to play a game up here that is a very uncomfortable game. It's a game that is full of tension, but it's a very important game, and it was a very important game for its creator, Maddie Bryce. Maddie Bryce is a woman in San Francisco, and she is a game designer, and she is having a difficult time helping her friends understand like what her life is like, her daily life, the little things that happen that can be difficult or uncomfortable. And do you know what mainichi means in the Japanese language? Yes?
I think it means every day.
It means every day. Okay, and so through this game, Maddie is going to kind of help us walk a mile in her shoes, and is going to help us understand what her everyday is like. So let's take a look at Mainichi. And just a warning, this is not a comfortable game, okay? It's a bit hard to read the dialogue from far away, and I don't know how to make the window bigger, so I will read it for you, okay? Looks like I still have a couple hours before meeting up for coffee. I should probably get ready soon. Or I could be lazy and take a nap until then. Tempting. I should try being more positive today. So we need to get ready. So let's head to the bathroom. I really shouldn't leave the house without some makeup. Okay. Is it time to shave and bathe before going out? Yep. God, how's it still cold this time of year? I'll never get used to it. San Francisco has very strange weather. Oh, that's a good idea for a game. Ouch. Not the knee. Ah, the water was so warm. Okay, we'll do some makeup. It's only coffee with a friend, but I should probably put my face on before leaving. Just think of it like painting. Once you start, you can't go back. There. I look like me again. Pretty sure I have some food in the fridge. I haven't been eating well lately. Maybe I can sneak in some food before leaving. Let's grab some leftovers. Let's warm this up. Peach curry chicken. Thank God for slow cookers. Looks like it's time to go. I don't want to keep her waiting. Okay, let's get out there and get to the coffee shop. As we walk by, people are starting to look at us. Then someone says in front, "Oh my God, look, is that a boy or a girl?" Shh, they'll hear you. But isn't that gross? Okay, let's get out of here. As fast as we can, let's go. We're confronted. He says, "What's up, pretty?" "Hey, slow down, I want to talk to you." "Holy shit, you're a man. Fuck." Okay, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. That's someone's son. Did you see it? Watch out for that man. Let's get to the coffee shop. Okay, there's our friend. "Hey, Maddie, I'm over here." "Hey there, hun. Do you mind getting coffee while I finish up this call?" Yep, let's go get some coffee. "Hello there. Can I get something started for you? May I please have a hazelnut latte and a chai?" "No problem. Paying with cash or card today?" "Let's go with cash." "Thank you. The barista will have your drink at the other end of the counter." "Oh, it's that cute barista. Should we catch his attention or sneak away?" Let's sneak away. "Here's a hazelnut latte and a chai up at the bar." "Caffeine delivery." Just in time. So our friend is going to try and help us out, right? "You look down. Is everything going okay in life?" And Maddie says, the usual. It's hard to feel happy sometimes. Our friend tries to cheer us up, right? Friend says, "You shouldn't care what people think of you. Your friends love you, and that's all that matters." And Maddie can only say, "Thanks." Because, right, her life is, in many ways, she's got a lot of challenges that she faces. So Maddie Bryce is a trans woman in San Francisco, and she's a game designer. Her way of communicating life and the challenges that she faces, what it's like to walk a mile in her shoes, her way of doing that is through games and through that interactivity. A few moments ago, I chose to pay with cash. But if you pay with card, you'll discover that actually it can be very difficult and painful because if you pay with a card, maybe that card has an old identity on it. And so that can be very painful. And this game can play out, that's the whole game right there, but it can play out in different ways depending on the prep that you do, the decisions that you make. And so for Maddie, this was a very painful game to make, but it was a very important game for her to make because it helped communicate what her life was like and helped her friends develop a much better sense of empathy for what she was going through. And I think this kind of thing, games are so powerful. With a book, you can read about someone walking a mile in someone else's shoes. You can read about their experiences, but you can't really experience them. With film, you can watch someone walk a mile in someone else's shoes, but you're not really experiencing that yourself. With games, you're not quite experiencing it yourself either, but you are in there being immersed and making decisions, and so that can help develop a much better sense of understanding and empathy. And when art is being effective, improving the empathy that we've got, I think that's a pretty noble thing for games to be trying to do, okay? So, a very difficult game, but I think a very important one. And I'm really glad that Maddie had the bravery to release the game. Certainly it was not an easy thing for her to do. So there are other games that are very interesting. I think I'm going to save this one in case we have more time. The Stanley Parable, a very famous game. You should definitely play it. It comes up a lot in game design circles. I want to play another game for you that is one of my favorites. This is a game called Pond. It has a very unique art style. It also has something to say. If you remember Roger Ebert saying that games can't be art, the question arises, well, what makes something art? When you look at Call of Duty and explosions and all the violence that those games tend to have, a lot of very popular games are very violent games. Well, let's make a game that has none of that. Let's make a game that feels like it might be in a museum. And you're going to find that the creators of Pond have something they would like to say to Mr. Ebert, okay, about the nature of what they believe art is. Let's take a look. This is Pond. It is an old Flash game that I played quite a long time ago. Jeremy Bond, who was a professor here teaching 494, a great friend of mine, a fantastic mentor, taught me a lot of what I know, introduced me to Pond, and he said, Austin, this seems like your kind of game. And I think you might see why pretty soon. Okay, this is a game about breathing in, and then you release the spacebar to breathe out. And you have to do this with very precise timing. So if I mess it up, I apologize. Okay, here we go. Okay, ready? We're gonna hold space to breathe in. And then release out. And that's the only mechanic in the game. I delight in the smaller things, the shape of a leaf, the curl of sunlight in the grasses. I set up before dawn, 1 foot afore the other, to see what wonders the day might hold. Okay, and we wait, and then we see it, and When people see games on TV, when they think about video games, is this the kind of game they're thinking about? No. Our pond has been destroyed. Epic quote. I think that every piece of art has two authors. It is the person who made it and the person who perceives it. And thus, when you look at something like this, I encourage you to find your own meaning in this work. But because we have not too much time, I do want to offer you my interpretation. This game was made in the wake of Roger Ebert's infamous essay on why games can never be art. And I believe, if I recall, as part of Roger Ebert's disdain for games, it was the massive amount of military shooter simulators and explosive games full of violence that were all over. They were super successful in the 2000s and 2010s. And thus, in many people's eyes, the medium got kind of a bad name. How could video games be art? It's just something that my kid plays, and it's full of violence and guns. How could anything meaningful come out of this medium? This game seems to be asking Mr. Ebert if what you want is just a quiet, kind of museum-feeling game, then we can make that. But this team says the lack of explosions in a piece of work, in a piece of media, is not what makes something art or not, okay? They think that if a game has something to say, that makes it art. If a piece of media has something it would like to say, that is what art is. And this piece of media definitely, very obviously, has something to say to Mr. Ebert, okay? Especially with how it ends. Now, I played the game very gingerly because it's actually shockingly precise. And if I mess up even a single one of those breathe ins, breathe outs, the timing, we get an ending where none of that happens. Okay, and so it's like, it's always, I'm kind of like gingerly trying to get it. I have a backup video in case I mess it up, because I don't want to have to take you through that twice. Comment?
What's the ending where none of it happens?
What happens is the scene ends, it fades to black, and instead of going to the next scene, it just like gives you a black text wall. That's it. Where I think it says something like, wow, the day was beautiful. I wonder what things I might have missed. And then back to title screen. Not nearly as good, and it doesn't work as well for the lecture, so I have to execute pretty well. If I was smart, what I would do is I'd record a video and just play the video, but I think that's not quite as fun and as surprising. I do have a video for our next game, though, and this is another one of those games that, oh my, you're not going to forget this one. This is another uncomfortable game, but for a bit of a different reason. Well, no, there's nothing uncomfortable about it. I would never spoil it like that. This is a game called Can Your Pet? And it's an famous game in which, have you ever played Nintendogs? Remember Nintendogs, right? Tamagotchi, you're taking care of a cute character. You've got a little pet, in this case, a little pet chicken, a little chick. And yeah, we're going to take care of that chick, and there we go. We're going to go ahead and watch a video on this. So, yep. We're gonna hear from DTE first, though. They've actually done a pretty good job keeping the power on for me. We had a bad winter a few years ago where everyone lost power multiple times. I haven't lost it since. Actually, good job, DTE, but I want them to do a good job for everyone, not just me. Okay, here we go. Can Your Pet?
Johnny? Yeah? When was the first time you heard a naughty word? First time I heard a naughty word when I was a kid. I heard it from the chicken. Big Granny, she was white. Big Granny said, now Johnny, the chicken said, oh, horse. Big Arthur's eyes at Granny was the chicken said it first. Now this chicken talk. That is what one say when the chicken they live. Then we are the right can listen off the kill. She said me no don't take it.
Okay, so some pieces of art are a little bit more subtle than others, and some are a bit more in your face. I don't think you have to wonder for too long what the authors thought of the kind of meat processing and production industry. The way that they disguise this game as a very nice, gentle, kind of charming pet simulation game, they lure people in, they lure players in, and thus they get them attached to your little pet after a few minutes, and then they can deliver their message with a painful amount of poignancy. Now, I've sometimes heard that good art makes you uncomfortable. I'm not convinced it's required for that to happen, but it certainly does seem to be an ingredient in a lot of art that sticks with you. I'll say, since playing this game, I've never quite looked at my chicken consumption the same. And I start to think things. I start to wonder, well, did they at least have a good life? How could they if the wings are so small, right? And if you say that good art is something that sticks with you, this stuck with a lot of people. Okay, and so a pretty interesting piece of art, in my opinion. Now, we can sometimes have not just something to say. A lot of games, a lot of media has something to say, sometimes very unpleasant, sometimes very important. But we can also innovate in our actual gameplay mechanics themselves. So experimental gameplay. Thinking of games like Braid. Have you ever played Braid? Braid is a game about rewinding time. And in most of the game, this is used in a way to reverse mistakes or set up certain elements of timing so you can solve a puzzle or get through a stage. If you have played this game, you know that the final stage uses this reverse time mechanic to dramatically change the story in a way that is shocking, and your view of the characters. And so I won't spoil anything, but if you YouTube it, maybe later tonight or someday, or you play it all the way through, you'll know that the last stage, the last puzzle in this game, very easy to execute, but it is it really flips the story on its head in a way that's like, whoa. I won't tell you any more, but know that it has something to do with reversing time and how you can perceive that. Another very interesting game, this is a mobile game called One Single Life. And this is a rather, kind of standard platforming game, okay? There's nothing really crazy about it in its art style or in most of its normal gameplay. You are a parkour person and you're jumping from building to building. Nothing too crazy about that. The jumps get harder over time, and they get faster. But one thing that is exceptional about this game is that when you die in this game, there is no respawn. There's not even a restart. This game, this piece of software, goes to significant lengths to figure out if you have died in this game ever before, even on different devices, I think. And so, this otherwise relatively ordinary platforming game suddenly takes on a very different feel when you know that this is your one chance to play it, and the first time you die is also the last time you'll ever play it. Now, there are ways to get around it, okay? But they really put in a great effort to make sure you can only play it once. Papers, Please is a very famous, well-known game by Lucas Pope. And Lucas Pope has been making a lot of games, Return of the Obra Dinn, a lot of games that are very novel in a lot of ways. Experiences that feel novel, they trigger interesting emotions in you that games and media don't usually trigger. I think before this game, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, most people would assume that the life of a border document processing agent is a little bit of a boring life, kind of a boring existence, right? I'm sure there's some things that could happen, but you just check the documents and you issue a yes or a no, right? Well, it turns out that the role of a document processing border agent has been quite dramatic, especially at different times in history. This game, as you might be able to feel, is set in kind of an Eastern European style country and culture in the I think the 30s or 40s. Okay, so very rough time for that part of the world, and there are a lot of people trying to get through the border, and you have to make decisions not only about their paperwork, but about their situation. If someone doesn't have the required documents, officially you're supposed to reject them and send them back. But will you do so if they tell you that they're going to be killed if they can't get across? That someone's waiting to kill them, that they're fleeing, right? They are refugees. Will you still deny them? If you let them through, that is going to show up on your record, okay? And you might end up losing your job. Your family is sick. They have a crappy apartment. You need that bonus. You need to not lose your job. There are a lot of complicating factors here that come into this game. At first, it just seems like a document checking simulator. Pretty soon you discover that Lucas has a very keen interest in history and the interesting, dramatic questions that a lot of our civil servants face, sometimes, unfortunately, on a daily basis. So, as a civil servant, when I play this game, I resonate with it. I feel it. And there's a lot of difficult decisions that have to be made sometimes, and context that sometimes you have to use and sometimes you cannot use. So a very, very visceral, dramatic experience. I want to show you how this game feels. But instead of playing it, I'm going to give you this in the form of a film. Okay, we're going to watch the, in my opinion, fantastic Papers, Please short film. And this was made, I believe, with the involvement of Lucas Pope, and it was made, I think, very elegantly. It expresses a lot of ideas very quickly. And if we have time, we'll end on kind of a fun note. We'll play some Stanley Parable together. But in the meantime, I want you to watch this film, and I want you to think about how film tries to indicate what a character is thinking. When you are the agent, you think what you think, right? But in a film, it's a different medium. We don't have that interactivity. You aren't the agent, and so the filmmaker, the director, needs to figure out how to help you understand what our main characters are thinking. And that's very important to this short film. Let's take a look at Papers, Please, the short 2018 film. I think you're going to enjoy it. How many of you have played Papers, Please, or have heard of it? Okay, all right, let's take a look.
Словарский все. Алиса придет. Насколько? Не могу сказать.
Но что произошло, должно случиться именно сегодня.
My apologies. CC, here we are.
Слава инспектор!
Слова офицер.
Wait a second. What?
Алиса придет.
Oh, here it is. It's on the bottom. Okay.
Насколько?
Не могу
Не могу сказать.
Но
Но что бы ни произошло, то должно случиться именно сегодня.
What?
Понимаешь?
Huh. Let's try and watch this on YouTube itself. Maybe it'll play a bit better.
В
В любом случае, я тут должен. Там неплохо.
Хорошо, трудиться, инспектор!
И вам офицер.
Следующий. Ваши документы. Цель визита. Работа. Продолжительность. 3 месяца. Разрешение на работу. Извините. Время пребывания. Пожалуйста, я как только въеду, я сразу паду. Я добивался этой работы 4 месяца. У меня семья, я не смогу их кормить. Вам ничего не служить, что Простите. Следующий.
Отсутствует право на въезд.
Я Сергию. Сказал, вы можете помочь.
Отсутствует право на въезд.
Я прошу вас. Вся моя семья погибла. У меня нет никого, кроме Сергию. Это ведь про меня, да?
Простите меня.
Понимаю. Передайте это Сергию. Прощайте.
Цель визита.
Сестра у меня здесь живет. Уже 3 года не виделись. Продолжительность. Ну, пару дней всего, потом уже назад надо.
Добро пожаловать в ваш
Спасибо, инспектор. Следователь, моя жена так с ней не слишком строго. Она впечатлительная, потом всю ночь спать не даст.
Ой, передо мной сейчас муж мой был. Надеюсь, не сильно вам надоел.
Цель визита.
Да к сестре, господи. Вот тащит на старости лет.
Продолжительность.
Денька на 3, не больше. Ну где это видно? Хозяйство простаивает, там по гостям шляется.
В
В вашем паспорте ваша фамилия указана как Арабинский. Отправлен на въезд как Арабинский.
Да я всю жизнь с этим мучаюсь, как только не исключен. Получаешь свидетельство, там я с мягким знаком. Паспорт меняешь без. Кто ж разберет-то? Один раз, знаете, даже Рабынский было. Вы уж не обессудьте, пустите. Он ж меня потом проезд, все, проходу мне не даст. Все попрекать будет. Прошу вас, миленький. Я ж назад домой нормально не доберусь. Все деньги-то он забрал.
Еще раз исправьте.
Спасибо тебе, родненький. До конца жизни не забуду.
Следующий.
Ваш документ.
Закалечию.
Okay, a very visceral short film, right? Not super long. But in this film, we see that it is not always so simple to just stay by the book, okay? We reject our friend's entryway into the country, and our friend was begging us, and she seems all right, but she technically doesn't have her permit, and so she can't come in. And that's probably the end of their relationship. You can see the character having some difficulty with that decision, right? He has to collect himself, and then he regrets it. Because what does he do the next time a similar situation comes up, where there's a slight issue with the paperwork? Yes?
Lets him through.
He lets him through, and he is punished with his life for it. Okay? There are a lot of interesting questions and ideas here. Okay? Now, officially, letting someone through without them having the required documents is corruption. But does it feel like corruption if it's something small, or if the person begs because they'll be killed if you send them back? Is that corruption? It is, but would you want to tolerate that? I don't know. When you decide to be a little bit loose and a little bit, accepting and understanding, oops, you just let in someone who you really, really would rather have not, okay? So there's a phrase I heard from my friend Larry Cooperman, and I'll never forget it. He said this in kind of some dark humor, he said, "No good deed goes unpunished." And I've never forgotten that, because I felt that on occasion too. So it's a film and a game that really is good at putting you in these kind of morally ambiguous, difficult positions. If you stick to the paperwork and just go by the book, That's not necessarily going to get you to the best ending, all right? But it depends what you're going for. So another great piece of art that I think did a wonderful job. I'm glad the film was free. I would like to see if I can get Stanley. Okay, the Stanley Parable. A lot of this stuff is very heavy, so I want to give you something a little bit lighter. The Stanley Parable is a very famous game. It was made by Davy Wreden. His brother, Doug Wreden, is one of a coworker of mine. He's now known as Doug on the internet, but we worked at Electronic Arts. When was that? About 2015. And we played a lot of Smash against each other. So I usually won. I think it was Pit versus Mario or something like that. It's like the Brawl era or something. I don't know. Anyway, Doug told me that Davey really worked his butt off on this game. It was very difficult for him to finish this game, and it kind of took a lot out of him. So when we play this game and reflect on it, we should appreciate the sacrifice that Davey Wreden had to make to get this game out. And thankfully, he seems to have returned to game dev, and he's got some more products and projects coming. But no one's ever going to forget this one, the Stanley Parable, okay? So games are a strange thing. They're all about immersion. They're all about interaction and player choice. But our choices can only exist if the author programs them in. Does that mean we have free will or not? Are we just interacting with a small sandbox? There are a lot of interesting questions about games when you really stop to think about them. And this game and Davey Wreden did a lot of thinking to make this game. Let's find out and hear about Stanley Parable. Even the loading screens in this game have it going on.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him from the monitor of the desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push, and what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month, of every year. Although others might have considered it soul-eating, Stanley relished every moment the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to the set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Should I go left? Raise your hand. Should I go right?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating but eager to get back to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Left? Right?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible it wasn't 5 years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else is difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Red? Blue?
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see, there's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You give me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. One? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations that you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a one? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Oh.
Now, would Would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on. And now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. Bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for them. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here, no, here, and then... See, what does it mean? Yes, of course, and just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable. Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to get mining.
The water in the distance is what gives it away as not being Minecraft to me.
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. You brought a light? Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This will do it all, 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game. Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You trapped in a glass box, way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
What game is this? It's Portal.
It's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte. Genius. No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had enough. So, why don't you get cozy in this room, and if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just...
For those without context, this is the first version of Stanley Parable. The one we're playing now is actually the second. Look familiar?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
So that was one of the endings in this game. There are many, and there are many different branching things or choices you can make or things you can do that will change which ending you end up at. Many of the endings have something kind of interesting to say. This one had something interesting to say about the nature of feedback. But others are about that question of free will. Things get even more abstract, actually. There's some very crazy endings here if you want them, including the only ending that we have time for to show you next, which is the ending where you decide not to participate.
Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by, he no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Davey Reedon made this game because he wanted to have a conversation about many of these interesting topics, these contradictions in the world of games in particular, but also in the world of corporate life, of office cubicle life. And Davey's medium for discussing these ideas, for having that debate with you, is the medium of video games. And so, remember, all art has two authors. Davey can make this game and can try and make it the best game he can. He can try and put his ideas into the game, and it all comes down to who's perceiving it. What do you see in the game? Your life experiences, the challenges you faced, the things that you value, that is going to affect what you kind of experience you have when you interact with art like this, okay? And so, do you remember writing essays in high school? Have you written essays in college? There's this notion that a good essay resembles a good argument. Maybe your grammar isn't that great. Maybe you can't find the perfect diction to express yourself. But if you have the right evidence, and if you present that evidence and connect it with your ideas, then your essay is going to be compelling, even if it's a bit rough around the edges. And I think that a good game and a good film and a good comic book, a good piece of art, like a good essay, it has ideas inside of it, and those ideas are presented and explored, and hopefully from multiple angles, and those ideas are connected to further ideas, and it doesn't necessarily tell you what to think. It just shows you some different ways to look at different interesting things, and it asks you to come up with your interpretation and to connect it to your life. I think a lot of art these days is suffering, especially in our nation, because it is art that isn't really comfortable asking you what you think, okay? So when you're making a game or a painting or a film, right, remember the audience, the consumer, the viewer, let them have their own experience, okay? Make the best game you can, but know they're going to bring their own knowledge and experience to it. They're going to perceive it in their own way. And that can be very freeing. It can also be very scary, okay? As artists, we often want to try and control what our art, how art's going to be perceived, but that is exceptionally hard. So this question of can video games be art, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. I will bring up one instance where it actually became a legal matter. Okay? Can video games, are they meant to only be fun? I think that's your decision to make. Okay? But this came up as a legal question in the famous Brown versus Entertainment Merchants Association Supreme Court case. It's an interesting case. It has to do with freedom of expression. And in this particular situation, we had a big Supreme Court group. I don't know how many of them have ever played games in their life, but they were deciding whether games were considered art, free speech, and thus not subject to any sort of municipal censorship. California had, perhaps understandably, become frustrated with the fact that it was possible for young consumers, young players, to go into a GameStop or store and purchase a game that was rated M for mature. Okay? That's kind of like a young person going into a movie that's rated R, right? They all do it, but that's not really a great thing necessarily, okay? So it was possible for you to go into some GameStops and buy a game, and they would give you a game that you probably shouldn't have been able to buy. There is a rating system in the world of games, the ESRB. There is E for everyone, T for teen. There's M for mature, and you can say they recommend 17 plus years of age before you can buy this game. There's also an even more extreme rating, adults only, which for many platforms will prevent you from publishing on that platform. Now, the thing to know about the ESRB is that it is voluntary. There's no legal muscle behind the ESRB. The ESRB was created by a bunch of game companies and retailers When there were controversies over game content and age ratings coming up, and Congress was getting very frustrated with the gaming world. And so all the companies voluntarily follow the ESRB, and GameStop as a policy won't sell you games unless you can prove your age, but some of the GameStops and some of the employees were doing it anyway. Now, California wanted to put legal muscle, make it a criminal offense to do this. And it came up in court, the question of, well, wait a second, in the United States, generally speaking, municipal entities, public, government entities are not allowed to restrict expression. You can't say, we're going to make it illegal for you to post that painting or post that flyer, so long as it is not like just vandalism, right? I think there are places you can't just go posting a bunch of stuff on like private property. And so the question was, well, are video games considered free speech and artistic expression? Because if that's the case, California cannot attempt to regulate this. But if it's not the case, then they can regulate this. And it was decided 7-2 that yes, in this case, games are considered artistic expression, free speech, and thus, even if you may want to, in the USA, we can't apply legal penalties to the sale of games. And so there you go. My final message for you is that you are all engineers, and that's probably how you think of yourself first, maybe not, but you're also producers. You have to manage your time and your resources. You have to keep your team functioning well. You are also designers. You're thinking not just about the fact that the game runs, the XR app doesn't crash. You're also thinking about, is it fun to be in VR? Does it feel good? Does the player know what to do when they step into VR? You are also all artists, and not just because you want your VR or AR experience to look beautiful and pleasing, but because when you choose to make something for some interesting reason, then that, in my opinion, makes you an artist, okay? Even if you're mainly making a product to make money, and that's very common, I think a part of a lot of people, we're also kind of making something for a different reason. Maybe you really, really care about a certain niche problem that a community is facing. Or you want to make a game that is about the life of a border agent and how difficult that life can be and ambiguous it can be. But whenever you make something, right, remember you are all of these things, even if you focus on one of these more than the other. And don't ever forget, there are always two artists for every piece, okay? You can only control one of those. And so if you put something out in the world, know that's a very brave thing to do. And if you put something out into the world, and this happens all the time, it's happened to me a lot, if you put something out into the world and the world doesn't like it, or they see something in it that you didn't intend, welcome to being an artist, okay? And true artists know that pain and how difficult that is. And so that's... all the great artists have stories for days, okay? So just keep that in mind, and that hopefully will make it easier to publish your art and not less, okay? All right, and do the best you can. When you experience some art that you don't enjoy, just know art is hard, okay? It's hard to get it just right, and so hopefully try and have some empathy for, hey, it just didn't work out. It didn't quite have the effect on me that maybe the artist was hoping for, okay? Because right now, the world of game dev and the world of XR, the world of film, the world of media is a difficult place to be, okay? And we're trying to find new ways of reaching our audience, and just hard. So, yep, take your lumps and do the best you can. It's always all you can do, right? All right, everyone, that's all I have for you. Thank you for joining me. Kind of a painful lecture, but I think it's important, and I think that's part of college. I don't think college is meant to be comfy, though certainly I hope it's not too distressing. And I mean that in terms of the content, but also I hope you don't work yourself too hard. Work hard, but not too hard, okay? You got to take care of yourself first. Then you can work hard and you can learn. Okay, I'll see some of you for game engine architecture in an hour. Otherwise, I'll throw some music on. And yeah, thanks for joining us. We've got one more lecture, I think, after this one. So hopefully we'll see you at that final lecture. If you want your course completion sticker, you'll be able to get it at that final lecture or any of my office hours or the final showcase, which hopefully I'll see everyone at. Okay? Rock and roll. Keep those projects advancing. And remember, I've got my office hours from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight. Okay? So I'll see you then. Take care. All right. Everyone watching online, take care. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.